Craig M. Sorger, February 10, 1990 to February 15, 2003, was a teenager from Ephrata, Washington who was brutally murdered by then 12-year-old playmates Evan Drake Savoy and Jake Lee EAKIN. The crime. Sorger was an autistic and a developmentally disabled teenager who loved science, video games, and race cars. Sorger was at home when Savoy and EAKIN asked his mother if he could come out to play. As night fell, Sorger's mother became worried because Sorger was afraid of the dark. When she found out that Savoy and EAKIN had gone home hours earlier, she knew something was wrong. She was later informed that her son's body had been found near the area where the three children had been playing. When police questioned Savoy and EAKIN the night Sorger's body was discovered, each told a similar story. Savoy said Sorger fell while climbing a tree. EAKIN said he and Savoy were on the same branch in the tree with Sorger when the fall occurred. The autopsy came in and proved differently. The autopsy. When Sorger's body was found, the autopsy reported that Sorger had been beaten approximately 16 times about the head and neck and stabbed 34 times in the same areas where he had been beaten. He also had 8 stab wounds to his torso as well. The confession and trial. Although they both claimed innocence, they were charged with first-degree murder. July 11, 2006. Ephrata, a 15-year-old boy was sentenced Monday to more than 26 years in prison for beating and stabbing a playmate to death 3 years ago, closing one of the most brutal murders ever committed by a juvenile in Washington state. Evan Savoy, of Ephrata, showed no emotion when Grant County Superior Court Judge Ken Jorgensen imposed the maximum sentence. He smiled slightly as he was led away in handcuffs. Savoy was 12 years old when he and a friend were charged with first-degree murder in the February 15, 2003, death of Craig Sorger, a developmentally disabled boy who had last been seen playing with them in a recreational vehicle park. Sorger's bloody body was found hours later with dozens of stab wounds. Savoy repeatedly proclaimed his innocence. The other friend at the park that day, Jake EAKIN, eventually changed his story and testified against him at trial. EAKIN pleaded guilty to second-degree murder by complicity and is serving 14 years. Defense attorneys argued that justice would no better be served by issuing the maximum sentence. Standard sentencing range for first-degree murder is between 20 years and 26 years. This is a tragic incident for everybody involved, defense attorney Randy Smith said. But the likelihood that rehabilitation is going to be any more effective after 26 years than after 20 years is ridiculous. Jorgensen disagreed, saying the punishment must match the crime. Savoy brutally attacked Sorger, leaving him bleeding, pleading for help and crying out that he was dying on a wooded trail, he said. He later added, "Somebody is going to have to figure out how a 12-year-old can be so violent, so young." Holly Parent, Savoy's mother, continued to insist her son is innocent. She said neither Evan nor Craig received justice in the case. "The killer is still out there," she said. "Now we're going to appeal. And I'm not giving up. My son is innocent, and I'm going to fight." After changing his story, EAKIN finally confessed to his role in the killing, pleading guilty to second-degree murder by complicity and was sentenced to 14 years. He then testified against Savoy, who maintained his innocence. On April 29, 2006, Savoy was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 26 years in prison, the maximum sentence that could be imposed.